Hello, and welcome to the MetaPathways version 1.0 installation tutorial. My name's Niels, and I'm one of the developers of the pipeline. And today I'm just going to direct you through, in this series of videos, how to exactly install and sort of get the pipeline running on your system. So the first thing you're going to have to do is obtain the pipeline, and you do that by downloading it from one of the available websites. So one of them is hallam.microbiology.ubc.ca/metapathways. Another way to, and you'll get yourself here, and you click this link here to download a zip file containing all the files, all the pipeline files itself. Another way to do it is to download the official GitHub release source code, which is essentially the same folder. It's just logged to a specific date and release on the GitHub. So either one of these ways is going to work fine. And eventually what you'll get is something very similar, is this MetaPathways 1.0.zip file. And so you can sort of quickly extract that by double-clicking on it on most systems. And once that's been extracted, you'll get this MetaPathways _1_0 or 0 folder. And so what we're going to do quickly is we're going to take it and put it into our home folder just for convenience. Although it could sit anywhere on your system, and depending on how you like using it, but for simplicity we'll stay close to the home folder to make the commands shorter. And then the next thing, since the pipeline is very much command line driven, you need to, on the OS X operating system, you definitely need to find out where your terminal is and have that readily available. So in OS 10, Mac OS 10, the terminal is located in Applications. Then there's a folder, a subfolder of applications called Utilities. And then if you look in Utilities, you should find the terminal. And so if you double click on the terminal figure there, you'll get it lighting up down there. And I guess before we go any further, you'll want to options. You'll want to keep that in the dock for now, just for convenience, because we'll be using it essentially every time we want to use the pipeline. Right, keep in dock. Before we go into doing more on the command line, let's take a look at this MetaPathways _1_0. What's in this? What is this thing? And essentially, from this MetaPathways folder, this is essentially where you'll want to run the pipeline. And so the pipeline is run by this metapathways.py script. But I'll do a rundown of everything that's in this, most things that are in this folder that you need to know about. Okay, I guess going down from the top, we have this BLASTDB folder, which contains all the nucleotide sequences for doing protein homology searches, and that you want to use to analyze your metagenomic sample. And so sort of any additional proteins that you want to search using our pipeline, you need to come up with a FASTA file and place it here. So we've actually included two databases, the MetaPsych, which is a subset of Uniprot that corresponds to a number of the pathways in Pathway Tools, and then the COG database, just sort of to get you started. There are also some support files, this NCBI taxonomy tree, which allows us to pick a uniform namespace for when we do lowest common ancestor taxonomies. And then there are COG categories and KO categories, so the KEGG classification. So this is sort of our name conventions. so when we go further in the pipeline, at least we have a standard naming convention. So the daemon.py file is what controls the MetaPathways pipeline on a compute grid, and we'll go into more details about that later. But essentially, it's sort of your broker on the grid, doing your blast jobs for you. Executables contains all the executables that are needed to run the pipeline, including some the original source code. When we configure it, we'll configure it to either use the Linux or Mac or Windows binaries. Libraries or libs contains essentially this is the pipeline, and so these are all the Perl scripts and the Python scripts and the modules and the code that sort of run each step of the pipeline. Put together the commands and sort of string them all together. MetaPathways P5, as I mentioned before, is sort of the starting script of the pipeline. It starts the whole process and picks up the config files and the input file and the output file and starts the process off. You have this MetaPathways RC file, which needs to be run before a pipeline starts. It just tells the MetaPathways where it is in your computer and where your sort of your Perl and the Python. These are programming languages, but it sort of lets the software know where its resources are. Next, we have an output folder, which it's empty for now, but I like it for convenience because when we run the pipeline, you'll want a place to output your the results. I have a run metapathways.sh. That's just a quick way to test the pipeline. You run a quick little shell script. You have the template config, and this sort of is where you specify which executables you're going to use, where your Perl and Python programming languages are, where Pathway tool sits once we install it, and we'll talk about that later. And the other one you'll need to know about is this template param, which specifies the parameter settings for each step of the pipeline for a specific run. We have test data here, which are a number of FASTA sequence files that we use for debugging the pipeline, but we've kept them there so that when we do come around to testing the pipeline, we have something to test with. And finally, in the utilities folder, there's a couple of Perl and Python scripts that allow you to make certain sort of data products from after you've run the pipeline. And so that's a quick rundown of everything there is to know in the MetaPathways folder. And so we'll start quickly in the next video configuring it and downloading all the required software.